PAW patrol, to the lookout, Ryder said, as the 6 pups' tags began to flash. After a few minutes had passed, all 6 drowsy members were in their designated spots awaiting orders. PAW patrol ready for action, Ryder, sir, Chase announced with a light yawn while wearing his spy gear. Guys? What's with the moon? Zuma said as he stared out of the tower windows at the red glowing sphere. That's a blood moon, shouted Rubble in a panic. A blood moon? Oh no. I'm really scared now. Super Chase didn't sign up for this. What's a blood moon? All the pups turned to face Marshall. What? I think the moon looks good in red, he replied happily. Rubble palmed himself. Marshall, blood moons mean that something bad is about to happen. Oh, replied the Dally as his ears drooped. Pups, we need to focus on the mission, Ryder announced, bringing everyone's attention back. Ryder tapped his pup pad and brought up the big screen display. I received an emergency call from Mayor Goodway not too long ago. She seemed really distressed. She wouldn't stop crying and kept repeating Chicoletta over and over, he said while a cartoon image of a crying Mayor Goodway appeared on the big screen. I couldn't make out anything else she was saying, but if I had to guess, I would say that Chicoletta must be in some kind of trouble. He pressed another button on his pup pad and all 6 pup tags appeared on the screen. Since we don't have many details, we'll go ahead and have all paws on deck just in case. Great. Now some of us won't have to be left here alone, Rubble replied, slightly relieved, gaining a nod from a few of the others. All right. PAW patrol is on a roll, Ryder shouted, pumping his fist in the air. However, right after finishing his catchphrase, all power within the lookout was unexpectedly shut off. Those who gaze upon the moon as I pass, shall soon find that night to be their last. The mysterious voice rang around the room of the lookout. I don't want to die, Rubble screamed as he ran off with tears in his eyes. Rubble, wait, Ryder called out to him.
Rubble had enough. He sprinted to the slide and slid out of the lookout. Unbeknownst to him, the rotation mechanism had rotated and moved Sky's pup house to the end of the slide. Sky's pup house transformed into her copter and the propeller blades began to spin at an incredible speed. The others saw this from the tower window and tried desperately to call out to the bulldog. Nearing the end of the slide, Rubble's ears picked up the sound of the propeller.
That's not my rig, he yelled as he frantically tried to move his paws as fast as he could and climb back up the slide, but to his disadvantage, his paws could not grip the slide. With tears in his eyes, he called for help. Ride dash.
Buzz. Rubble. The group watched in horror as fur, skin, flesh, and bones were torn apart from the bulldog's body, piece by piece from the bottom up. When nothing was left, the propeller blades slowed down and came to a complete stop. They were coated with blood and fleshy remains. Crimson-covered entrails decorated the copter, slide, grass, and concrete. Rubble's pup tag and collar were laid on the ground, shimmering in red with a chunk of the bulldog's neck fur attached to it.
Sky bursted into a painful, heart-wrenching cry. Marshall sat with his hands on his head, eyes wide, frozen in shock with tears dripping down his cheeks. Rocky held his mouth to stop himself from spewing vomit while his tears flowed freely. Zuma and Chase were looking away, bawling their eyes out. Ryder himself just stood there motionless as he dropped his pup pad to the floor. I don't understand. How could that have happened? He asked, staring into space. This can't be real. He fell to his knees and covered his face with his hands, letting out sob after sob. Mayor Goodway was still weeping uncontrollably in the dark at the spot where a deceased Chicoletta lay. Ryder, please hurry, she wailed through tears. The lights began to flicker on and off again repeatedly.
Those who gaze upon the moon as I pass, shall soon find that night to be their last. Spoke the familiar voice.
No, oh, she screamed as she ran towards the front door. She tried to turn the knob, but found that it would not budge. She heard heavy footsteps coming from the kitchen, but when she turned her head to face the direction, no one was there. She kept her eyes peeled in the same direction as the footsteps sounded, as if they were coming closer and closer. Mayor Goodway backed up against the front door, still waiting to see the source of the footsteps when suddenly, they stopped. The mayor was panting and breathing heavily. She closed her eyes as she tried to relax her breathing and calm herself. She opened her eyes and screamed. "Oh!" There before her stood a man dressed in pirate attire. He had a black beard that was drenched in blood, a sharp bloody hook that was shaped much like a curved knife, an eye patch over one eye, and the other eye was just a red eyeball which had neither an iris nor pupil. Before the mayor could finish her scream, the mysterious man cut it short as he jabbed his hook deep into her neck and quickly but smoothly ripped it open. Crimson waves began to spew from the mayor's neck, staining her purely white nightgown and trickle from her mouth while her head tilted back as if it was a can opened by a can opener. Before her now lifeless body was able to hit the floor, the mysterious murderer vanished. Ryder continued to sob in the dark on the lookout floor, blaming himself for what happened to Rubble. "I'm so sorry, Rubble. I'm so sorry. The rotation mechanisms never malfunctioned like that before. The entrance to the slide is supposed to scan each of you and identify your personal vehicle." He slammed his fist on the floor. "I should have kept constant maintenance on it. This is all my fault." He cried heavily. Chase tried his best to comfort him while he tried to hold himself together. Rocky, with tear-stained eyes, was searching something on Ryder's pup pad, tapping his paw here and there across the screen. The words that had been spoken by the unknown voice still rung around in his head.
Those who gaze upon the moon as I pass, shall soon find that night to be their last. He thought to himself, trying to decipher the terrible riddle.
His eyes widened as realization settled on him. He began to search, flying ghost ship passing by moon. A picture of the exact same ghost ship passing a moon appeared on the screen in an electronic article. "Guys," he called out to the others in a shaky voice. "I know this is a bad time, but you need to hear this. I pulled up an article on the ghost ship we saw. It says that not many have seen the paranormal scene, but if you do happen to see it, it's considered to be a bad omen. Those who have seen the ship float past the moon have either been involved in freak accidents that led to their death or have been murdered." The reporter who captured this photo was found the next day hanging from a flagpole by his intestines. Rocky gagged at the thought of that scene, also remembering Rubble for a split second before a tear trickled down his cheek. He wiped his eyes before continuing to read the article. *sniff*. According to legend, the name of the ship is called the Reaper. The Reaper was a pirate ship that belonged to a pirate who went by the name Bloodbeard. Bloodbeard was a cold-blooded pirate. He murdered the innocent and took from them, no matter the circumstance. One night after pillaging the town which is now known as Adventure Bay, the king ordered him to be found and executed. Bloodbeard and his crew tried to sail away using the dark night and cloudy skies as cover, but the clouds moved from in front of the moon and the light shining from it illuminated the ocean, giving away the pirates' position. The king's soldiers fired a barrage of cannon balls from the pier and sunk Bloodbeard's ship, leaving no trace of the pirates. Rocky looked back at the picture of the ship in the article. His eyes were concentrating hard as if he had seen the vessel before. He gasped. This ship. If I can remember right, it's the same ship that Zuma was trapped under when we saved the mare pups, he stated. Sky walked towards the mixed breed with fear in her eyes. So does that mean everyone who sees the ship pass the moon dies? Rocky sat the pup pad down before lowering his head in silence. That's what it sounds like, he answered. The ghost is real. It's real. Tears began to fill his eyes again as he continued. I should have sided with you guys. I shouldn't have teased you for believing. If I would have agreed, maybe Ryder would have taken it more seriously and Rubble wouldn't be dash. He trailed off while little droplets splashed on the floor. I want Rubble back, Rocky screamed, throwing his hat across the room. I was just as scared as you guys. The difference is you were all brave enough to admit it, he stated with tears pouring down. I'm the coward. The coward who teased his friends for being scared. His friends. It should have been me who went down the slide and dash. He was cut off by a paw placed over his mouth. He looked up to see a tearful sky. Rocky, stop. She pleaded through tears. You're hurting us. Rocky looked up to see everyone next to him with wide tearful eyes before being ambushed by a hug. Rocky, please. Don't ever say that again, please. Zuma pled as he embraced him with worry. Chase stepped forward, placing a boot on his shoulder. None of us blame you or Ryder, Chase said, while Marshall nodded with agreement behind him. An important detail clicked within the Dalmatian's mind. Guys, we all saw it, he stated. That's right, agreed Sky. Us, Captain Turbot, Alex, Mr. Porter, Katie, Callie, Mayor Goodway, and Chicoletta. Ryder's eyes shot open. Oh no. Mayor Goodway, he said, remembering the mayor's distressed call. He quickly picked his pup pad up off of the floor and tried to call the mayor. No one answered. We have to go and check on the others. Once we're all together, we can try and find a safe place. I'll go and check on Mayor Goodway and Chicoletta. Chase and Marshall, you two go and check on Alex and Mr. Porter. Sky and Zuma, you check on Captain Turbot. Rocky and Ryder paused for a moment before finishing his sentence. He wasn't used to being one pup short, but this was no time to be consumed by grief. It's all right, Ryder. I can go check on Katie and Callie alone, Rocky answered, staring at the floor sadly. Are you sure? Ryder asked, regaining his composure. Yeah. It's time for me to be brave, Rocky answered. Okay. PAW Patrol is on a roll, Ryder announced with not even the tiniest bit of enthusiasm and happiness that he normally shows when saying the phrase. Spy Chase headed for the slide. Wait, shouted Ryder. Don't take the slide. I don't want to take any chances. He pulled out his pup pad and began tapping across the screen. But sir, how will we get down? Chase asked, curious. The slide and elevator are the only ways down and the power is out. This'll just take a sec, Ryder replied, still tapping his screen. Okay. Auxiliary power on, he shouted after tapping one last button. The power all around the lookout flashed back on and the sound of some machines whirring and computers booting up could be heard. Ryder ran to the elevator with the 5 following him and they descended to the ground floor. As the elevator door opened, Ryder wore a serious expression. Pups, please be careful, said Ryder. The 5 slowly nodded. There's no way I can get my ATV, so I guess I'll have to. Ryder paused before finishing. Take Rubble's rig. Ryder shook his head. Okay pups, let's head outside, he commanded. The 5 pups exited through the automatic doors as they opened and closed. Once outside, they waited for Ryder to join them. Ryder walked towards the exit doors. The doors would not budge. Those who gaze upon the moon as I pass, shall soon find that night to be their last. Ryder's heart stopped upon hearing the familiar voice and once again. The power within the lookout had shut off.